back to ASEAN Challenge into ASEAN Interview this week. We have a special guest joining us to sum up the challenges of ASEAN over the past 2016 and beyond, and much, much more.
ค่ะกลับเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะและในช่วงนี้ค่ะไปดูประเด็นสำคัญใน ASEAN Interview กันค่ะ
Welcome back to ASEAN Challenge into ASEAN Interview this week. We have a special guest joining us, Kun Kan Yin Yong, the director of Siam Intelligence Unit, one of Thailand's major think tanks, to tell us and assess Thailand's development and ASEAN's development over the years, and to give us more insights into what lies ahead for ASEAN and ASEAN's challenges. Sawadee Kun Kan.
Sawadee.
Thank you very much for joining us on the show
You're
today.
Welcome.
So today, lots of challenges are still ahead for ASEAN and Thailand's status in ASEAN as well. But starting off, can you tell us about your assessments and thoughts on Thailand's success as an ASEAN member so far?
Unfortunately, for about Thailand, I think for the past decade, I think we quite have a lot of problems, including our internal political problem, political conflict, and I think we are in between the the adjustment of the economic fundamental as well. This is not easy at all. I think not only Thailand, also we can say that also Malaysia as well, because these two countries, we can say that we stuck within the what's so called the middle income trap, and it's not quite easy to pass or to cross over this trap, because this also relate with the structural change, and also we need to require some kind of political intention to move along and to improve a lot of things. So I can say that this is not easy at all. But compared to Malaysia, in Malaysia they have more, like a kind of unity government. Also, although that if we look deeper down inside this kind of structure, it's not quite peaceful at all, because they also have some different challenge from us. Inside Malaysia, they have kind of like a racial politics. They have different religion. They have kind of very difficult challenge inside that country. But different from Malaysia, in Thailand we have another different challenge as well. We have kind of yellow shirt, red shirt. We have a decentralized problem. We have kind of inequality problem as well. So this is a lot of challenge we need to overcome. We need to observe. We need to reform, a kind of very serious reform as well, to get through it.
Right. So all in all, kind of looking at the big picture, there's still a lot of bridges to really bridge in Thailand. There are a lot of gaps to really bridge still. What you said, income gap, as well as a lot of leaps and bounds that Thailand needs to do in order to kind of bridge that divisiveness still, like politics as well.
Right.
Taking a look at how Thailand itself and all of ASEAN has pretty much opened up the AEC, the ASEAN Economic Community, and tried to really bridge those gaps between countries to open up trade and facilitate movement as well. Do you think that has benefited the members of ASEAN?
Yes, of course. I think the connectivity, economic connectivity, and also the more connection and more dialogue, more discussion among the people, this can boost economy of each country, of course. But the fundamental problem of this kind of structure is ASEAN compared to EU. We can consider ASEAN as more on trade zone, free trade zone, whereas EU has much more, like a more unity structure. They have a single currency unit. they quite have kind of ECB, European Central Bank, which can wage unified monetary policy all over country. But that's also create another problem as well, because each country's members in EU, they have quite a very different pace of economic development. So for example, in Southern European angle, they quite have a very slow economic development, and the economy are very fragile as well compared to the Northern European plane, such as Germany or France, or like a Netherlands or Denmark or something like that. So we cannot use the single monetary policy to fix all problem. That is quite impossible. So they need some kind of negotiation to have a very different policy to recover their own economy. But different from EU, in ASEAN we have like a very loose policy. We have no single monetary unit yet. This quite have an advantage and disadvantage. On one hand, this is kind of very flexible. If like Thailand, if for example, if Thailand, we would like some kind of independent monetary scheme and also fiscal policy, that's fine. We need not to consult with Malaysia or Singapore at all. The same thing as happened in Vietnam or Burma as well. They can have their own policy. This is quite very nice. But in the long term, I think the national development of ASEAN will go ahead like in EU, and we will face some more challenge very similar to EU as well. So this will be a need to observe experience that happened from EU. For example, a financial crisis as well. We never faced that kind of challenge that much.
Right, indeed. So perhaps with the flexibility that ASEAN has in terms of the financial flexibility and also other regulations that actually, you could say, give different ASEAN members mutual isolation politically.
Right.
And in that case, perhaps Thailand and ASEAN members probably won't see problems that the EU faced, for example, like the Brexit situation.
Right.
Right.
And yeah, as I said, this can have some advantage and disadvantage. On the advantage side, these ASEAN members can, like, although that we have some kind of really serious conflict on each other, but somehow we can preserve this architecture
Right, indeed.
to prolong it or to utilize it later. That's fine. For example, Thailand and Cambodia, we had some kind of border conflict for last couple of years ago. I think that we need not kind of ASEAN architecture to resolve this problem. We ask for like a international court to resolve this problem. So, but again, in the long run, if we would like to boost more economic activity, if we face more, which is I think much more important in the near future, about the geopolitical challenge, for example, from the rising of China, and what is going on when the U.S. have a new president, Trump.
Right.
This is another quiz and another problem and another challenge that ASEAN member need to address about.
Talking about those new changes in the like you mentioned, with the new presidency in the U.S. as well as the rising influence of China, kind of talking about those on separate notes here. How do you think the new U.S. presidency, now that we're talking about it, will affect perhaps the regional context of ASEAN? Do you think that we'll be seeing big changes with the new presidency? Because in the past, America, the United States, has had quite a significant influence and has played a big role in, and been a significant player in Asia and the Pacific region.
It seems that the elected President Trump he will have some very different policy from the so-called establishment foreign policy in Washington, and he may introduce some kind of like isolation of the U.S. out of ASEAN, which is very different from Obama administration. At that time, Obama and also Hillary Clinton, they introduced some kind of pivot to Asia, or like a rejoined or rebalancing some kind of that policy. But this time, the elected President Trump, he somehow, with the early movement, he made a phone call to the president of Taiwan, which is kind of break the traditional foreign policy of the U.S. since during the Cold War, that the U.S. kind of accept the single China or one China. Now the Trump I think he tried to make Taiwan as another bargaining chip on the overall negotiation table, and I think this will also happen with South China Sea problem as well. And also, but in the long run, I think Asian countries, for example Japan or Singapore, they already acknowledge this trend very very seriously. For example, in Japan, the constitution. I can't remember the topic number 8. I think that can allow more, like active defense policy. So I think they foresight for a long time ago that the U.S. will leave the defense policy to more on Asian countries. That is very nice for the U.S. So they can like lower the defense budget. But the problem for Asian countries is this quite we never passed this kind of our own regional challenge or regional balancing before. This could happen in the European countries. So that's why EU rising to resolve that problem. But ASEAN Asia we have no this kind of problem before. So how this kind of conflict will unveil itself, this is very interesting.
Do you feel optimistic about the future and this conflict unfolding and perhaps resolving itself on a positive note for Thailand and for ASEAN?
As of like a political scientist,
yes,
we can never see our lens through the optimistic lens. But okay, for more relaxing, I can say that both sides. On the optimistic side, we can see like a rising middle class, rising Asia, the economic locomotive already shift to Asia. It means that every countries in the world will eye to Asia from now on. For example, China, they have their own OBOR, One Belt One Road program that can make the more strengthening the connectivity between Asian countries and also in European countries as well. For the broader picture, this kind of like making the connectivity between Eurasia, European and Asia. And again, in the angle of political scientists, this not relate only to economic angle. This also relates to geopolitical angle as well. This is quite a very challenge and very risky as well, because we don't know, like in international foreign policy circle, they kind of think about this problem as a Thucydides. It means that the Athens and the Sparta, how the Athens can challenge Sparta, some kind of this thing. The problem is will China challenge the status quo of the US or not? But now Trump and his advisor seem that they think that China will obviously challenge. And that's a problem. That's a problem.
So once again, in the future of ASEAN, we still have to look to two major players, perhaps to see how they will affect the geopolitical situation in ASEAN and also the developments in the economy as well, all around. So still, they're both positive and negative things, perhaps advantages and disadvantages to look forward to.
Right.
Thank you very much for your insights. ทุกคนคะท่านผู้ชมคะทางคุณการก็เล่าให้ฟังว่าในอนาคตของอาเซียนนะคะแน่นอนก็ยังมี challenge อยู่ข้างหน้านะคะแต่ว่าไม่ว่าจะเป็นยังไงนะคะมันก็มีทั้งสิ่งที่ดีและก็สิ่งที่เราต้องจับตามองเป็น challenge อยู่ไม่ว่าจะเป็นปัญหาเรื่องการเปลี่ยนแปลงของ geopolitics หรือว่าเรื่องเศรษฐกิจที่อาจจะมีทั้งส่วนที่ดีกับส่วนที่ไม่ดีเข้ามาเกี่ยวข้องเพราะว่าในประเทศอย่างเช่นยกตัวอย่างอเมริกาก็จะมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงทาง perspective เช่นกันนะคะ so with that we wrap up ASEAN interview for this week. Stay tuned for more details and more insights from Kun Kan on ASEAN challenges coming up ahead in the following years with the change and shifts in politics and geopolitics all around the world. But with that, back to ASEAN Challenge. Thanks very much, Kun Kan, for those insights. And that is ASEAN Interview welcoming 2017 on this January 1st. And with that, we wrap up ASEAN Challenge as well. But for now, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Have a good New Year's, and we'll see you again very soon next week. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ